Crypto assets, cryptocurrencies, and the whole ecosystem have always operated in the wild, wild west of Indian regulation. Years after their popularity has grown, many young Indians have invested in these new age assets. No one is really clear on how they operate and under whose watch. That regulatory grey zone has now been exposed after a series of actions against crypto exchanges. The big question today, are crypto exchanges being used to siphon off money made by illegal Chinese loan apps that victimized poor, innocent Indians? Let me tell you the headline first and what exactly is being reported before we break it down. Now, what's happened today? 370 crore rupees of assets of a crypto exchange called Vault were frozen by the Enforcement Directorate. We've also now heard, and this was reported by the Economic Times today, that 10 crypto exchanges are being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate at this point. That report also says that the probe is to see whether 1,000 crore rupees of money laundering was taking place in these at least 10 crypto exchanges. Meanwhile, government sources today have said that the WazirX case, and WazirX is one of those crypto exchanges which also saw raids a few days ago by the Enforcement Directorate. The government sources say that these cases have exposed the darker side of crypto transactions. On August 5th, and that's what is being referred to, assets worth 65 crores of a crypto exchange, which is the largest by volume in India, were frozen by the Enforcement Directorate. So what does all of this mean? I have to begin by telling you a bit about the genesis, which is the loan app scam. And the proceeds of that scam is what is being investigated. So the loan app scam has seen at least 2,500 complaints registered with the Reserve Bank of India in the last 2 years, and at least 10 suicides across India in the last year. The scam essentially is that Chinese-backed loan apps, spurious loan apps, are flourishing in the market, and Indians, many of them who need money desperately, find it easy to take loans from these apps. They make it very easy, no KYC required, money can be transferred very fast, and the ticket size of these loans is quite little, 10 to 15 to 20,000 rupees. Now, once that loan is actually taken, recovery agents start extorting money from these victims, these poor Indians. These easy loans are given to unsuspecting victims, and once the loan comes in, even if the return date, where you have to return the money, is later, immediately there are threats to the borrowers. They are abused, they are extorted. Sometimes multiple amount of what has been borrowed has to be returned. So there are examples, for example, where someone has borrowed 10,000 rupees, but over time has been extorted of over 1 lakh of rupees. So why do they give it? Because these recovery agents say that we've got your morphed pictures. We've hacked into your phone, we've got your morphed pictures, and if you don't give us this money, we will distribute it to everyone in your contact list. So over 2,500 complaints on this have come in to the RBI over the last 2 years. At least 10 suicides have been recorded across 4 states. And of course, there's a multi-agency probe going on into what is happening with these loan apps. It has been found that a lot of Chinese-backed loan apps are operating illegally in the Indian market. That's the loan app part. How do these crypto exchanges come into the picture? Crypto exchanges are essentially platforms where anyone can open an account and buy or sell cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum. It uses the blockchain technology where actually everything is noted, nothing is in the dark. The allegation and investigation is that these exchanges were used to funnel proceeds of crime. Now, this is what the ED note says, that after a probe began into these Chinese apps, which I mentioned, many of them started diverting their profits, which they were making on the back of innocent Indians. How did they start diverting it? They were using crypto exchanges. And there's a modus operandi in this. They were diverted bypassing the banking system. So they were opening wallets on payment gateways and using those to buy cryptos on these exchanges, selling them on international exchanges, and hence funneling out the proceeds of crime from India. What have the exchanges done or not done? At least in the WazirX case, the allegation is that the exchanges failed to flag suspicious transactions. They didn't have proper KYC norms of who are the people who've opened these accounts with them and are diverting all of this money. And they are now seeing where the proceeds of crime was siphoned through crypto exchanges. That is what is being looked at this point. But the big question here is, are crypto exchanges actually being used to launder money, and how big is this alleged racket? Were Chinese loan apps allowed to siphon off money through these exchanges? Did money robbed from poor Indians get diverted through cryptos? And the biggest question, why is there still no clarity on crypto policy framework? There's a regulatory grey area going on which has allowed for these loopholes. So who's responsible? Who will protect Indians who have invested in cryptos? And why is nothing being done? We're talking about this evening. Khushbu Jain, Supreme Court advocate, is joining us on the show. I'm speaking with Ajit Khurana. He's a crypto expert and founder of Reflexical. Prashant Roy, public policy and technology analyst, is with us on the show, as is Pavan Duggal, cyber security expert. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Headline. Khushbu Jain, let me begin with you and what we've seen in the last few days. We, of course, will wait to know what exactly is the reason that Vault's assets have been frozen. We know there's this report that at least 10 crypto exchanges are being investigated right now. The point here is that how is this being allowed to happen? Who is looking at what crypto exchanges are doing?
It's a very, very valid question you have asked, that exactly who's looking. I think I would give a reason as to lack of regulation, or lack of, in the absence of regulating this market, has created a situation where criminals find it very easy, or it's becoming a lucrative field or a heaven for money launderers. Because see, committing a crime is easy, as it's challenging for the financial institutions and anti-money laundering agencies to relate transactions to criminal activities over these platforms. Now, see, there are a lot of dubious ways to accomplish their task by becoming skilled, deploying states and state-of-the-art technologies to perform illegal activities. Now, coming directly to your question, because there's an absence of regulation. It has given a situation where there's no KYC, there's no proper regulation that is happening. There is people are getting cheated. I think the connection which you were also talking about, that loan app to the money which comes from the loan app. Let me go back a little on that, and to make it a little more crystal clear.
Yeah.
That practically what's happening is the money coming from anybody who's going just a click away. You Google it, or you put a search online loan, and you will get 200 plus websites out there for you to download and get loan. Now, the only collateral here is usual collateral. The collateral which you get it on digital app is getting access. Either it's an Aadhaar card or any of your digital card, and apart from your PAN card, Aadhaar card, the collateral is literally your phone book, your contact details, and your access to your gallery. This is the collateral which they are asking about. Now, what happens is, practically, if I take a loan from, let's say, Pavanji is here on the show. If I take a loan from Pavanji, it's Pavanji's account that I have to return the loan. Practically, what's happening over here is loan is coming from some XYZ account, and it's when they ask you, they harass you, you have to transfer it to another XYZ account. Practically, when this has been reported, what happens is those are mule accounts, or people who, the money has been transferred. You say, I was like, he's like, I've never opened a account, or I don't have any existing account, or this transaction is not done by me, or I'm not even aware about these things, or they are mule accounts. So what's happening is, I think I would say that lack of KYC, lack of update by or maybe clear instructions by the RBI to fintechs, to these platforms, and also lack of clear cut that who can give loan and what are the procedures to be given loan. Now, when I'm talking about that money is coming from account A and going to account B, practically that money which they're loaning must not also be their own. That must be a laundered money which is coming to me as a loan, and when they return it back, take it back, goes to somebody else, and that somehow ends in going to a wrong place. So that's one of the ways to do it. Who can practically be regulating it? I think it's not just one entity. It has to be
right.
RBI.
No, but this is a question which is going on from 2 years, that who should regulate it. And every time the
It can't
government
be
comes and says, RBI doesn't like it, we're waiting for global regulations, but all of this is happening every day, right? Pavan
but
Duggal, I want to come to you to explain in as simple terms as possible, what are these crypto exchanges actually accused of? What are they supposed to have done? And of course, the allegations are going on. This is a probe right now, so they're being probed. We don't know whether they're guilty or not, but what is the accusation exactly?
The accusation is very simple. They are becoming as very fertile platforms for people to launder money. So right now, if I have to send my money through banking channels, everything is traceable and I'm accountable. The governments can ask me questions. But if I actually invest my money in a crypto asset through a crypto asset exchange platform, there are no questions asked. That money gets invested in the form of crypto assets, and somewhere in any part of the world, anybody else can just go ahead and encash the same without any accountability or transparency. So with the result, it's so easy now. Earlier, we used to talk about Hawala, system of transferring money from one country to the other. This crypto Hawala system is far more effective, far more efficient, and has actually taken on the attention of the people at large. And because this is a honeymoon period where everything goes on very well in the honeymoon period, that's what's been going across in the crypto platforms. They have been completely alive to the fact that India has been very sluggish in trying to even come up with a thought process on crypto assets and cryptocurrencies. And that's why they have flourished more so in the direction of doing negative, illegal, criminal activities. And consequently, right now, these new raids that have started coming in are basically the first wake-up alarm for these platforms to say, hey guys, your so-called honeymoon period is over. It's time that you'll have to start getting more accountable. But I think these raids are of not much significance. What's more significance is, what does India need to do with crypto assets and currencies? The finance minister says in the budget speech, give me 30% tax on your sale and purchase of crypto assets, but doesn't go beyond. So what is the necessity of giving a 30% tax if there's no legality that's going to be attached to your particular crypto assets and currencies? India is pretty much late in the party. We've actually yet to learn from the experiences of countries like Belarus, like Estonia, like Switzerland, and come up with enabling legal frameworks. Unfortunately, we are still relying upon a legislation that's 22 years old, a legislation that predates the advent of crypto assets or even blockchain, and therefore is completely incapable of dealing with these present challenges. And much that you would want to deal with these money laundering laws or existing criminal procedure codes or IPCs, I think we are not very much proficient in having effective mechanisms to deal with these exercises. These raids will come and go, and after some time, they will cease to have any impact upon the general population's mindset. But please understand,
no, general population is unaware of what is happening. We have to give context over here of how cryptos are viewed in the general population. A massive, overwhelming majority of crypto investors, by the way, are under the age of 30. And they're probably not the ones watching this show. But you speak to people in that age group, and they are the ones who are completely enamored by crypto, have been putting money in it, and are firm believers. Another firm believer is Ajit Khurana, and I think we should bring balance to this debate. Ajit Khurana, Pavan Duggal calls it the new Hawala chain. Khushbu Jain says it's a grey area, and look at how they could have been used to launder fraud loan app money. Now, that's a serious charge because these loan apps have really hurt people. People have committed suicide, families have been ruined. Ajit Khurana.
Not going to add balance to this debate because I'm on the same side, because it's extremely frustrating when very simple mechanisms, as in shockingly simple mechanisms, can be put in place. If I wire transfer money from a bank, the wire reaches in like 1 second, but then they keep it for 48 hours as a cooling period. We could simply tell crypto exchanges that if beyond a certain amount, let's say 50 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees or whatever, if money is transferred out of the exchange, it has to have a cooling period of, let's say, a week, in which time the suspicious transaction has to be flagged. There are a variety of very easy mechanisms which don't require like a whole hog bill or crypto act to come in place. And I think that the only other thing which has caused extraordinary frustration in the WazirX case is that we don't even seem to know who owns that exchange. And there too, simply having the keyman clause listed with somebody, maybe with the Department of Economic Affairs, etc., would have gotten rid of a lot of these problems. I think the worry comes from
Explain to us, in this case, everything goes to the banking system. If anyone wants to buy a crypto asset, they have to pay for it from somewhere, right? So you have to pay for it from a bank account. How have these loan apps bypassed that?
So I think that is one of the things that is being evaluated and inspected. But what it seems like is that it is not necessarily a bank account, but a RBI licensed entity. The most common type is a bank account, but it could be credit card, debit card, payment gateway, etc. And that is probably the loophole these guys have taken. That means they may not even have had bank accounts, but without that, they have managed to open payment gateway accounts. Please note, payment gateways are heavily regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. And that also has to be seen. How was that possible?
Okay. Prashanto, I want to come to you and thank you for your patience as we've been trying to break up this debate and understand exactly what has gone wrong. Do you think that this is a loophole that could be plugged, and do you find it alarming that as of yesterday we were talking about maybe WazirX where something could have gone wrong? Today we are talking about maybe 10 crypto exchanges and now assets being frozen of the tune of nearly 400 crore rupees of an exchange. It seems like the net is widening.
Yeah, Tamanna, I think, we've got to look at it from 2 points of view. Okay, one is, where is the issue here? It has started with the lending apps. Now, there is a serious issue there. Okay, and I think it's being conflated, perhaps a little unnecessarily, with the crypto problem, which I'll come to. On the lending side, the RBI has been extremely worried, and with good reason. It's been under a lot of pressure. There have been multiple suicides of people. These need to be regulated. They need to be controlled. They need to be shut down if they cannot be tackled. Whether they are Chinese linked or whatever is not the issue. Just yesterday, the Reserve Bank has come out with a digital lending guidelines. It's interesting. There are some parts which are not yet really clear. They have said there should be a self-regulatory organization. They haven't tackled some key issues like FLDG, etc., etc. The other side of the story is crypto. Now, the Reserve Bank of India is an excellent banking regulator. It has not been that great with the newer generation technologies, even payments tech and so on. So it has been a little iffy about that. Now, banking is regulated very strongly. There are very, very strong KYCs. There are strong incident reporting directions if there is a cyber incident, etc. For crypto, now RBI has from the beginning, for the last 4-5 years, RBI has been against crypto. In April 2018, basically banned crypto. Okay, and then the Supreme Court said in 2020 March that sorry, you cannot do that. It's effectively you're banning without there being a clear reason or a clear law about it. So that ban was reversed. But the RBI has continued to say that this is it's a very worrying area. There's a whole bunch of issues because of which it could be that you have a whole lot of things which are getting overhyped in terms of the numbers that we're talking about, and these two getting conflated. So I'm saying the problem with the lending apps is real.
No, I don't think we're conflating it, Prashanto, because cryptos always had that question mark over their head about whether they could be used for illegal means, which included money laundering, funding terrorist activities, funneling money without paying taxes on it, hawala, etc. Now, this loan app scam money could be one of the, ways in which this is happening, or one of the sources of this illegal money.
Yeah,
but it seems today like the worst fears of the RBI, for example, have been confirmed.
And I think the RBI is not too unhappy about that, because that's where I'm worried that the numbers may be multiplied, like maybe the 2G scam or whatever. Beyond a point, there is a real problem: the lending app issue and crisis that needs to be tackled. And I think there are very good steps being taken, like yesterday's entire digital lending guidelines. I'm just not sure that the numbers are where they are on this whole crypto thing. It is being left a gray area. It does need to be tackled. Between SEBI and RBI, it's not clear who wants to be actually regulating it. RBI said there should be a separate regulator. They should have clear incident reporting guidelines, suspicious transaction reports as they're called. If STRs were not followed, are STRs clearly defined? I think there are too many gray areas in this, and we might be seeing a whole area being kind of effectively shut down because of this, maybe inflation of the numbers, as it were, and
inflation of which numbers, Prashant? What numbers are you talking about being conflated?
Of what we are seeing of thousands of crores of possible Hawala transactions, etc. That's where I'm saying.
There's no thousands of crores. This is an ET report saying that they're looking at maybe 1,000 crores of illegal money, and whether this whole loan app scam is wider than ever. We don't know. First of all, we don't even know how many people in India are technically invested in cryptos. No one has that number. All of that is a problem. Khushbu Jain, the lack of transparency in this grey area. My point is that if it is a new technology which the whole world is adopting, and I'm not here, waving a flag saying ban crypto. I'm saying it's a new technology the world is adopting. We have to have our rules in place before we let it open to the Indian population. Are people who are investing in crypto understanding what they're investing in? Do they understand the concerns and the fears? And if there is a hammer of regulation tomorrow, what happens to them?
I absolutely agree with you that you cannot strangle this new asset class which is coming in. What is required maybe is a light touch regulation, so that if you see the landscape of criminal underworld is changing with cryptocurrencies. Therefore, I think it's paramount to work towards preventing virtual assets from becoming a safe haven for illegal financial transactions, and that it stays for the purpose for which it was being made for. And therefore, I feel it is very imperative to safeguard and protect citizens and also the global economy from the abuse of cryptocurrencies and virtual assets, and create a light touch regulation where the government regulators, central banks across the world are also feeling at the same time that there is a need for a regulation or to regulate this new asset class, which offers advantage to money transfers using technology at a fraction of cost. But on the flip side, it does possess a serious threat like money laundering and destabilization of monetary system. Therefore, I feel that lack of regulation has served a fertile ground for the criminals, which need to be addressed at the earliest. And at the same time, I would say that not that you strangulate this entire system, but a light touch regulation is what I would say. Also, I would want to just close on the aspect that there are few things which can still be looked into, because why this is making a safe haven for money launderers is because they don't have to comply with any kind of know your customer, that is KYC requirements, and there are very few audit trails which are there. The another advantage which is attracting the criminals is over using the traditional money methods is decentralized networks for users, untraceability, lack of adequate monitoring by the agencies, absence of centralized financial institution, and so on and so forth. So I think it's high time that we create some regulation or some light touch regulation.
I just want to tell our viewers what is the regulation on crypto, or what has been the policy journey so far. In the winter session of 2021, there was supposed to be a crypto bill to be introduced in Parliament. It never happened. Then in the following budget, the finance minister comes and says, we're going to tax it at 30% plus 1% TDS. At that point, Ajit, I remember you and I speaking, where you said that this is giving it legitimacy. You can't tax something which is illegal, right? You tax things which are legal. So this gives it legitimacy. Meanwhile, it becomes more and more difficult for crypto exchanges to function in the country. The price of crypto assets come down, and now you have money laundering charges. Where do you think this is going to leave the crypto space, and what do you want to tell people who've actually put money in this?
So, let us take it, I'll just take it as with an example. RBI is concerned that this could lead to capital flight, money laundering, it could undermine the sovereign currency, all extremely serious concerns. But if you turn around and ask them, okay, so what have you done about it? Have you done as much as tell the exchanges that please report the PAN numbers of the people with their transactions or beyond a certain limit, or those who are withdrawing money, or any of those things? They have not. So what is happening is that there's a lot of concerns, and by the way, very genuine concerns. But at the same time, it seems to be one of those who will bell the cat kind of situation. And in this situation, we are saying, things can go wrong, things can go wrong. See, they went wrong. Yeah, they will always go wrong if we don't prepare for it. I think where this is headed is pretty much like Nirmala Sitharaman ji introduced tax regulation. I hope that we will also have some reporting that will come in. For example, today, anybody who owns foreign assets, whether it is stocks such as Tesla, Microsoft, etc., has to fill up a form Schedule FA which is the foreign asset schedule in income tax. While can't they simply ask for that even for the crypto assets and other such things? Please let us just start with at least reporting if there is no bill coming through. Without that, we are really in a bad time.
Reporting. Prashanto, who will have to bell the cat? Because this conversation about RBI, SEBI has been going on, like I said, for at least a couple of years. But there is no clarity.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's two parts. The digital lending part is clearly with the RBI, and the RBI has sort of semi-belled the cat yesterday, saying it's totally up to the regulated entities as the banks and NBFCs, which are in turn, using lending service providers or digital lending apps, DLAs, etc. So that's one part of it. On the crypto side, RBI really does not want a crypto setup here. It has made that kind of very clear. It doesn't want to regulate it. It now says it wants a separate regulator. So I think it may be just perhaps sitting back, and they may actually, if it is an unregulated space, you don't have clarity on even something like at what level you file a suspicious transaction report, etc. Then you might end up with seeing a massive incident, and then that would be very good reason to actually clamp down. And one thing we haven't said here is that this also affects not just the end user investors, but a huge number of startups who are actually working in this space.
Yes.
Okay, so that is a worrying area, and that's one reason the government is also not very keen to completely shut down the space, and it's been pushing back against the RBI to an extent.
Right, thank you so much to all of you for joining us and breaking down this story. It's an important story that we need to understand, and we're tracking it. So we're not saying cryptos are bad, ban cryptos, but we need to understand who's regulating. It can't go on functioning in this government grey zone where nobody is responsible. At the end of the day, who's going to take them to task? Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on The Lead Story.